As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Let's go to MS now. White House reporter Jake Traylor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under President Obama, Joel Rubin. Jake, that moment was something, and that was really just the beginning of several stunning remarks during this day-long visit. Bring us the key takeaways.
Yeah, Anna, it was a remarkable day, that moment in particular. I've been at the White House for a handful of state visits, some of which were some of our closest United States allies. I've never quite seen this level of pageantry rolled out for anyone, but we did see that yesterday for the Saudi Crown Prince. There was a tour of the White House. There was a state visit, an Oval Office visit. There was a dinner that really resembled a state dinner with some of the largest business executives in the entire country wining and dining throughout the evening. There were also some key business takeaways. The United States agreed to give access to Saudi Arabia to F-35 jets, this exclusive military jet opportunity. High-tech advanced AI chips were provided to Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi Arabian nation also agreed to invest nearly $1 trillion into the United States. And Anna, despite all of those key business decisions and opportunities that were talked about throughout the day, still one of the most significant moments by far was the way that Donald Trump defended the Saudi Crown Prince MBS whenever a journalist directly asked about the 2018 murder of a Washington Post journalist that CIA intel found MBS ordered himself. We saw Trump quickly defend MBS and then MBS himself defend himself. Let's quickly listen to that.
About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Now, Anna, it's one thing to defend MBS about this murder whenever asked about it by a journalist, but I'll note, not getting as much airtime, at the top of those remarks, Donald Trump, without even being asked, essentially said, quote, that what MBS has done is incredible in terms of human rights. He said that without anyone asking about MBS's record. That just really underscores how much Donald Trump is trying to brush aside MBS's past to focus on the business deals and opportunities available in Saudi Arabia for the United States.
Yeah, Joel, it was just such a huge embrace of the Crown Prince by the Trump administration. What do you make of the president defending the Crown Prince?
It's an embarrassment
about this killing?
It's an embarrassment is what it is.
His own CIA, who determined the Crown Prince authorized a catch-or-kill operation on Khashoggi.
Yeah, Anna, well, you're speaking truth, and the truth matters. And Donald Trump found a way to actually make MBS look better than him. It was an astounding moment. We had the American president defending the murder of an American resident, a journalist, in public view. And even MBS was willing to give a little and talk about how it was a bad outcome, of course, not admitting that he did orchestrate it, as you point out. So I think it really made us look small. It made the United States look like a wingman to Saudi Arabia. We're selling off, and in the national security community, there's a lot of concern about what we're selling off, major defense assets for very little in return. And it was a really embarrassing spectacle to watch.
As Jake mentioned, the president also said he was proud of the job Saudi Arabia has done on human rights. Joel, has Saudi Arabia made real strides on human rights?
I mean, it's a complex, there's a complex answer to this, which is that, yes, Saudi Arabia has made advances in the last half dozen years or so to open up, to liberalize to a certain extent. I remember not so long ago, women were not even allowed to drive there. So there are some improvements, but it's a very serious, heavy dictatorship. His political opponents have been jailed. That is not going to change anytime soon. So human rights in the eye of the beholder, perhaps Donald Trump likes what he sees there in Saudi Arabia, and maybe he wants to model that here in the United States. I'm not sure. Some modest improvements, but certainly nothing to crow about.
And as we mentioned, it sounds like the Crown Prince will be meeting with some lawmakers perhaps today on Capitol Hill. We'll keep an eye on those developments. Jake Traylor, Joel Rubin, thank you both. Up next, the swings on Wall Street. Can the markets end today out of the red? What it all signals about the economy. Plus, a victory for Democrats in Texas as a federal court blocks a new congressional map that could have handed Republicans 5 more seats in midterms. A lawmaker who fought these maps is going to join us next hour. Stay with us.
I want to go outside and show my viewers in response towards what I've done in the past 3 days. Even though I'm sore. By the way, it appears like it's going to be a foggy morning, to say the least, pertaining to it mist and rain. Come on, Jack. Leave the cat food alone. No cat food. Hen, hadn't I done told you not to be up there? Huh? Hen, hadn't I told you not to be up here? You ain't supposed to be up here doing this stuff. Hen loves it whenever it rains because it softens the food that she gathers. That way it's not as hard on her throat whenever she's out here picking for fleas and bugs and everything else. That's Henny Hen. I wanted to tell my story. Hey. You quit attacking Jack. Don't be attacking him. Anyways, the day that my son had his bad accident in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, that basically took his own life, I had 14 of these birds originally that I bought from Tractor Supply in Union City for $1 a piece. And ordinarily they sold them for about, I think about $5.69 or something like that. They was high dollar birds. Anyways, I bought 14 of them, brought them home. And the day that my son had his bad accident, all 14 of these birds went crazy. I mean, absolutely nuts, to the degree that they all flew off, or didn't fly off at the time. They were young birds. They didn't fly, but they went out here in Melvin Hills bean field that had already gotten probably about knee high. And I knowed that if they got out there, they was going to get lost. Next thing you know, I was going to wind up losing my livestock. Stay out of there, Jack. That's hen's hole. Stay out of there. Anyways, I tried desperately to get them back in, and I never could get them to come back in here. Something had spooked them over here to the degree that they did not want to come back into their house. Like I said, they were just young birds, but eventually only one come back out of the 14. Only one bird come back. I'm going to tell you something else about what transpired that day to give you just a bit of a overview in what I'm talking about. Whenever I first come back here in 2014, David was not maintaining this property like he should, and basically letting it go downhill. And wasn't none of this here. None, absolutely none of this. What you're looking at right here wasn't none of this here. This trailer wasn't here. That old trailer right there that my brother basically died in, it was parked up here where my other trailer is, up underneath this lean-to on this pole barn that I put in, my brother and I put in, my younger brother. Right here. Jack, get back over here. Come on. Anyways, his trailer was sitting right here, where that trailer is right now. Of course, the porch was the original porch pertaining to what my grandfather and grandmother, they had to go, after 1929, they had to go up to Chicago and work for about 78 years, and then they come back and they bought this piece of property. The house that was standing here originally was a 2-story house. Actually, it was over here. Jack, get over here. Was over here on this side of the road over here, and they drug it from over there to over here. That was common back then, because there used to be about 25, 30 families that lived back there on the Beach Ridge area. Jack! I see you. I see you. That's okay. Anyways, I just got through working this flower bed that was originally went up to right here. Well, I expanded it over this way and put that all in the past 3 days. Like I said, I've been working sometimes till well, one night I worked till 12:30. The other 2 nights I've worked till 9:30, having to put in spotlights and stuff. They're bringing in them logs. I don't know why they're bringing in them logs for. They're supposed to be carrying them off, not bringing them in. Unless they ain't bringing a good price. I don't know what the price is right now on wood, but it ain't going for a big price like it should be. Anyways, I went ahead and cleaned all this here off. Had a trailer sitting right here. The trailer that was sitting here for about 3 months was the very trailer that was my assignment that I was on at the time whenever my son got killed. And I realized that it sat here for a great while, too long, longer than what I wanted it to. But you know, whenever you're grieving and you're an old man and you went through all these physical triumphant challenging events, I'm no longer a teenager or in my 20s or 30s to be able to do what I used to do. And to think that whenever I come back here in 2014, that I had young men 20 and 30 years old, basically about 10 or 12 different families that was challenging me towards wanting to get in a pissing contest out here on the road with me. To this day, I still find it to be overwhelmingly appalling. But I guess in another way, I should actually be proud of the fact that they thought enough of me that these young men wanted to whip my tail out here. But it just goes to show you the unfairness about what that they was doing towards wanting to pick on somebody my age, especially somebody that's been through all the stuff that I've been through pertaining to the physical trying areas that I was going through. Anyways, I was out here at the time, just about the time that the telephone call had rung, probably about 15 after 5. They gauged my son and him basically having his accident at 5:40. So about 12 to 13 minutes before he had his accident, he tried to make contact with me, and I was out here in the yard working, doing things. Jack, come back over here. Leave that man's truck alone. Jack. Jack. He done sniffing something. Once he gets that sniffing going, boy, he can't let up. It takes a lot to distract him once he gets that sniffer going. Anyways, I was out here. I'm just gonna show my viewers a little bit here. Right at the bottom part of that air compressor right there, there was condensation that had built up at least over this part right here. That was just nothing but just condensation where the leaves and debris and everything had fallen. Well, I was out here cleaning, dragging all that stuff out. This is all now fresh leaves right here. But I was out here cleaning all this stuff, making a decision towards, well, looks like I'm in it to win it, pertaining to me staying. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up like it should be. It was Dad that poured this slab of concrete right here. My dad did. And he also poured a slab of concrete on this other building. This was originally his shop right here. One of his shops that burnt down. He actually had, I think, 3 shops to burn down. He had this shop to burn down. He had another one over there at the old home place to burn down. he had his mother's house right here that burnt down, and then he wound up building a shop where the concrete I just got through showing you, where the car is right now. So he had 3 shops to burn and 1 home to burn, his mother's home to burn. Anyways, he drug this, this is an old building right here that he got from Kenton, Tennessee. I don't know who from. That he got it on a trailer. They brought this thing all the way to Kenton, Tennessee up here. Don't ask me who he got it from, because I have no idea. But, of course, it's just full of junk now. But it's actually a halfway decent standing building because of the old cut lumber that it's made from. That used to be considered a 2x4 back years ago. Well, a 2x4 now ain't half that wide and ain't probably about 3/4 that thick. But that's called rough cut lumber. And that's the reason why this building is still standing, because see the bottom part of it right there? It's rough cut lumber. So this thing was heavy whenever he brought it in off the trailer from Kenton, Tennessee. Heavy, heavy, heavy. So it's still standing here as a cornerstone or centerpiece pertaining to bringing stability to this other part that's basically falling in right now. I'm going to have to rework it and put a top on it if I'm going to continue to work at it, because it's falling in pertaining to the lumber and stuff. But the floor itself, if you look at the floor itself is a good concrete floor. Of course, the top's all rotten, and like I said, the top needs to be reworked. And I was out here working. Come on, Jack! Jack, come on! I was out here working at the time whenever my son had his accident. But I wanted to tell you about those guineas. See how that building built right there? Now this lean-to right here, it needs to be redone, replaced too. Like I said, to a lot of people, this is junk. It's just junk. But you know what? To me, it ain't junk. To me, I find value in it because I can take it and rework it and do things with it. Okay? But anyways, my cousin, Jim, he has decided to purchase this piece of property over here. I don't know for sure where our lines are. I don't know if they're on this side of the pecan trees that my dad planted before he died, or if it's over here on this side. But it's somewhere in this area right here that basically divides the 2 pieces of property from each other. But this old trailer right here, I put a bunch of stuff on it, and the tires was bad on it, so I wound up taking the tires off the other trailer over there that I use for a storage trailer, and I put those tires and rims on this trailer. But the tires and rims wouldn't fit because the hubs was different, so I'd take the hubs off the axles off of the other trailer and put on this trailer to convert it over. That way I could still use the rims and the tires, because the tires are probably brand new. These tires I bought in 2018 whenever I took my trailer up to Pebble Island, up towards the Tennessee River on the other side of Camden, and I stayed up there for basically a year. Whenever you're out here in the country, you can basically live according to the way that you want to live. And believe it or not, at first, because of the aggravation and because of what all had went on, I was so depressed. Of course, this was during the beginning phases of COVID, and this was after my brother's death in 2017. I was actually so depressed that I'd made a decision that I wasn't going to do nothing out here. I was just going to let it grow up in weeds. Because like I said, you live in the country, you don't have no ordinances out here. towards what you got to do and what you can't, what you don't have to do. Anyways, this is all my Christmas stuff that I'm gonna set out. A lot of it, some of it. Anyways, whenever you live in the country like this, in most counties, this trailer right here, Jim Boy's going to take and tear it completely down. They're going to dump it up and put it in a dumpster and take it somewhere. And then they're going to trim up some of these trees. Anyways, he's going to clean off this lot right here. And he's going to bring in his RV to have a place to set up. And I think eventually he's actually going to build a pole barn similar to mine. That way that he can park his RV in, or he can use it as a living quarters. Jack, come back over here. Yeah, they're going to work down there. Anyways, I just want to give a brief description about some of the things, because this right here was my dad's garden originally. Whenever I first come back to Northwest Tennessee in 2014, I planted a garden right here. Me and my brother did. Of course, he didn't take a whole lot of interest in it, but it was one of the most beautiful gardens I think that I'd ever seen, because Dad had already prepped the ground and it already had the nutrients in it to the degree that it turned out to be very plentiful. My brother and his wife, my older brother, wound up planting those big pine trees on the other side of the trailer right there, and right up through there, those other pine trees. And I think my grandfather planted that tree right there. We had planted oak trees, me and him, before he died in 1969. We planted like 30 oak trees down through there that Melvin Hill took down whenever he wound up purchasing the property after the old folks home up in Dresden basically took us for everything that we was worth, and basically stowed the farm, because we originally owned all that all the way back to the back, and we farmed like 500 acres in total back in here and over there, that we lost in the early 80s because of what the rich people done towards bringing up the prices of gas and bringing up the prices of interest on borrowing money and stuff. But I just wanted to make note that what they was talking about on TV a while ago pertaining to Donald J. Trump and the Saudi Arabian prince. Donald J. Trump made mention towards, why would you want to disrespect my guest? Well, it's not a matter of trying to disrespect Donald J. Trump's guest. First of all, Donald J. Trump is supposed to be up there representing the American people. He ain't just supposed to be up there representing himself. So it's not supposed to be his guest up there. It's supposed to be our guest. All right? Secondly, as far as disrespecting, it's a matter of how Donald Trump is disrespecting that journalist that got chopped up into little bitty pieces and put into suitcases towards being taken out of that palace or whatever that they call themselves over there. Jack, get over here. Leave that man's truck alone. Get over here. Come on. I know there's different smells. I know you're attracted to the smells. I know. Come on back over here. But when it becomes a disrespect, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump just got through disrespecting himself. Jack, get over here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Let me put you on a leash. Come here. Come here. Because I got to get ready. I got to go to Jackson. I got to go to Jackson today. Jackson, Tennessee. Let me hook you up, Bubba. Let me put the camera down just for a second. Let me hook this up. I can't have you running all, traipsing all over everywhere. Those guys are trying to make a living over there. They're clearing timber and they're doing things for the government pertaining to wildlife and field erosion and stuff like that. Anyways, Donald Trump just got through disrespecting himself, as well as disrespecting the American people, because of the way that he answered the question pertaining to the journalists, not counting in the fact that I had met these people over here in Martin, Tennessee in 1988, not counting the fact that they was the very ones pertaining to the king, who's not King Muhammad, something like Muhammad. Anyways, it was the devil himself that masterminded 9/11, and to this day, those people are still not held accountable for them killing almost 3,000 people pertaining to 9/11. I'm beginning to wonder what the hell is going on with our country whenever you're looking at Afghanistan being over there for 10 years and wasting the time and the money that we wasted over there in trying to conform a group of people that obviously we didn't conform, because 11 days after we walked away, they wound up, the people themselves that we were trying to teach to hold their own, wound up giving in to the very Taliban, the very people that we was telling them to fight up against, resist against. I'm beginning to wonder what is going on with this nation that I love so dearly, that we're willing to leave, what was it, over $2 billion worth of material, equipment over there? Big, heavy equipment. We're talking about tanks. We're talking about Jeeps. We're talking about all kinds of military stuff that we walked away towards basically letting the Taliban come in and reconfigure it and then use it for their own benefit. Or we're butting up with the Saudis over there, knowing good and well that they was the ones that not only killed that journalist, but masterminding 9/11. What is going on with our politics in our great nation is what I'm asking. Because I'm beginning to wonder whose side who is really on. Especially whenever we've been so downstream the way that we have. Any great nation that's $38 trillion in debt, and seeing this pandemic that come on to the people that has brought us almost to our knees, pertaining to seeing so many deaths over here, seeing how that we walked away from the Afghanistan problem, and basically it was turned into nothing but a mockery, in seeing all the deaths and destruction that has happened all over the great nation, our great nation, pertaining to the deadliest mass shootings in America. I'm beginning to wonder what is happening, or what has happened to our great nation, America. Whenever you start seeing these type of events happening again and again and again, you begin to question our national security pertaining to the Pentagon and the CIA towards what is really going on here. Because it has reached a degree of not only concern, but it has reached a degree of being, I guess the word would be overly cautious in how come we continue to keep making these horrible, horrible mistakes again and again and again, beginning in and on of what happened in 1988 with Ronald Reagan and the superpowers. What is going on is what I want to know. And not only do I want to know this, but I think the rest of the country wants to know that too as well. What is going on pertaining to our safety and security being compromised, pertaining to how that our own government is spying in on its own people and making these unrational decisions in bringing this hardship upon to its own people. What is going on with our American politics? Here at the Purple Heart Veterans Dragon Memorial Site. What is going on? It's worrisome. It's absolutely worrisome. In thinking that we're seeing this right in front of our very eyes, and the people ain't speaking up about it. Just like the Osteen scenario with pedophilia. I mean, That should have been opened up to the American people and the world, pretending what was really going on over there years ago. But yet now we keep dragging our feet, Now this tree right here that I planted, or I didn't plant, excuse me. This tree right here, whenever I first come back here, was basically half the size of this log right here that my brother and I planted in 2014 that had a sign right here pertaining to the Windmill Ministries missions. That sibling was about half the size of that log right there. That was that tree right there in 2014 whenever I come back. This was the tree that I was discussing with my son probably about a month before he had his accident, pertaining to this scar right here that the sibling almost died. And see this scar right here? That's from my son shooting this sibling whenever it was probably even a third of the size of that log right there that my brother and I planted. Betting his uncle, my brother, that he couldn't shoot it from a great distance off. You can't see it right now, but this has basically got my dad's serial number, his Army serial number, and the department he was in. This concrete was planted here in 2014. This has got some writing on it here. Here's some more writing right here. Come over here, this area that I just recently cleaned. What are you doing, sissy? Sissy, 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 what you doing, sissy? And there's Tiger. And there's a little bit. Anyways, that's marked DJ, which I'm pretty sure was either Danny Jackson or David Jackson, because I didn't have no say-so in this concrete being poured whenever my dad built this shop. If you look right here, he actually has chains in here that he used for frame straightening equipment that he would tie off right here with chains right there and mount the vehicle up. There's chains over here. Same thing. Chains right there. And there's chains over here. Quit! Y'all quit your fighting. Right there and right there. Chains that my dad would use for frame straightening. And I think there's a couple up underneath that carpet right there. I'll have that moved probably in a few days. Get that out of the way. I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm not the smartest genius in the world. Get back, Jack. I'm just wondering what is going on with our great nation in seeing so many mistakes as many times as what they're making. All right, this concrete right here was poured in 1995 by Jim and Sean, his son, that had a part in planting this concrete out here. I want to show you something else out here to get familiarized with who we are, what we believe in, and what we stand for. You know, like I said, I don't have much. I poured this concrete last year after I got operated on. It basically dislodged my labor activities out here for a whole year. And boy, whenever you're down for a year and then you try to come back, you realize how much stuff you didn't take care of that you should take care of as far as trying to make up for lost time. Man, can it ever be overwhelming in that. Get down from there, hen. I done told you not to be up in there. Anyways, my brother and I planted this concrete right here in 2015. And we also put this covered up that we bought from Mr. Newton up there in Dresden. And we probably poured, I don't know, probably 50 bags of concrete in here. Of course, there's a beam right there. beam right here that basically I use for a storm shelter or a root cellar and putting stuff in here to keep it cool, keep it good. And like I said, to a lot of people, it's just junk. All right, just junk. But to me, it ain't junk. To me, I'm proud of that in which what I have. Though some of it needs to be tore down, some of it needs to be reworked. I gave $1,000 for that trailer right there. Well, you can't build a storage area for $1,000. I think that little storage area right there that I bought whenever I was living in Milan, Tennessee, run me about $700 or $800. Well, that same storage area today, built by the Mennonites, probably cost you about $4,500. This trailer right here, that's the one that I took to Pebble Island on the other side of Camden. Stayed there for a year. I gave $1,000 for that. And this was the one that I was telling you about that I had to change out the hubs. See these hubs? These hubs was originally on that other trailer. Well, whenever I wanted to use the wheels off this trailer, wheels and rims, I had to change out the hubs. Thankfully, God gave me enough sense in working with my dad and having the ability to be able to tear stuff down and rework it, do mechanic work to a certain degree, do body and fender work, my brother and I built this building over here before he died in 2017. This pole barn. If I didn't have the talents that I have to be able to do what I do, and if I was relying solely upon the community or the public from the community of helping me, I'd be doomed. I'd be absolutely doomed. Now, I do want to apologize for the trailer sitting here as long as it did, pertaining to the ugliness of the trailer. But like I said, my son died in the process of me reworking the hubs on the trailer. And sometimes whenever the wind gets knocked out of your sail like that towards losing your only child, it takes a while for you to bounce back. But I'm letting people know right now, I'm letting them know that I am bouncing back. I'm not stopping in the pursuit that in which what the Father has laid upon my heart towards the crown that was given to me, that it says very, very distinctively in the first part of Revelations, see thou that no man take thy crown. In other words, continue on. Those who are not worthy of the plow that they have taken a part of and look back are not worthy of that plow. Well, I'm not looking back. I've had some delays. I've had some setbacks. But I'm getting back on my feet. I do want to thank Clyde Staggs for calling me up the other day and just being concerned about me, towards wanting to know, are you okay? Is everything going all right with you? And that means a lot. That means a whole lot whenever somebody from the community that I've known ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper calls me up and says, hey, Dennis, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Let me know if there's something that I can do. Because basically his son, Ricky, I went to school with, that was my best friend at one time, that we really enjoyed one another's company at that time growing up. I realize that I don't have the best of the best. I realize that some of the concrete's got cracks in it. The old porch that my grandfather planted, put in here probably, I'm going to say either in the late 20s or the early 30s, it's beginning to deteriorate and fall apart to some degree. But you know what? It's still a concrete slab here, though it may have some cracks in it. You can still get on it and walk on it. You can still call it somewhat of a porch. And of course he poured that. And as I've said before, whenever you're a one-man show and you can't get nobody to help you, because whenever I first come back here in Northwest Tennessee, everybody was shooting me birds. Everybody was against me coming back here in 2014. And boy, did they ever let me know it. That tree has grown probably 50 foot from whenever I first come back here, whenever it was just a small little sibling. And the reason why is because I pampered it, I babysitted it, I nurtured it, I watered it every day in the summertime. I come out here and I groomed it. And that's what it takes to see anything grow. It don't matter if it's a relationship. It don't matter if it's in the Lord Jesus Christ. It takes grooming. It takes nurturing something pertaining to maturing. And now I'm starting to see the benefits of my works, because that tree there come up by itself. That was one of Mama Dale's original trees. I think that was originally a bush. That tree there, God planted about 3 years ago. It's doesn't grow that big. This tree right here I planted. It's doing quite well. I'm gonna have to get in here and clean all this out and rework this. Get in here with stuff and take care of what needs to be taken care of. This bullseye corner right here was on the corner there in front of Victory Baptist Church on Highway 89 in between Sidonia and Sharon, pertaining to God hitting the bullseye in 1988 that I had on that pole that the water fields kicked up about, that eventually I took off and brought over here to this pole. Even though this is not the exact bullseye site where I was given the crown, this was still the original bull site whenever I was fasting and praying in the spring of 1988, actually before the spring, probably along about February, whenever my second wife and I, Diane, was having problems, while I was re-eventing and taking my material and converting it over to cassette tape during the time that Jimmy Swaggart, which is dead now, got caught with a prostitute. I was in that original house right there. That was a 2-story house right there that my grandmother and grandmother originally pulled from over here to over there in the late 30s. I was in that house fasting and praying during the time that those 9 tapes went to the White House, pertaining to the opening of the first seal, pertaining to me meeting the Saudi people over in Martin, Tennessee. Now we see what has occurred now in the past 30 plus years pertaining to this country going backwards. We see how that this great nation has bent over backwards towards wanting to render to any and everything, including pagans. Because it was the pagans that got the same type of authority or the same type of benefits that the rest of the church communities already had, pertaining to them being tax exempt in 1986. Once again, what is happening to our great nation? What has happened to our great nation to the degree that we no longer have any boundaries pertaining to our morals, especially when it comes to the laws of the land? Especially when it comes to the embarrassment of pedophilia? I don't know. It's not a matter of us being invaded. It's or in the process of being in the middle of an invasion. I think we've already been invaded. Maybe not politically speaking, but spiritually speaking, to the degree that this is the recourse that you get whenever the churches don't stand up together towards righteousness and holiness. This is what you get. You get a battered down nation that still claims that it stands with the ideology of holiness and righteousness pertaining to God and the Lord Jesus Christ, but has gone in the opposite direction. Has gone in the opposite direction. For the Bible says that whosoever shall calleth upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. That's in Romans chapter 10, verse 13. But now, if you take notice in what I had to do in predicting not only a bloody road ahead, but in also predicting of major electrical disturbances to come that I was punished for up in western Kentucky in 2007, if you'll take notice that all the above is now coming true and has come true and is in the process of coming true. But in doing so, this was the camper that was on my truck at the time whenever the Oklahoma authorities decided to put a bomb in my truck and blow it up. If you'll take notice, the writing that I felt like that I was drawn into doing pretending to dig it in out of Proverbs chapter 28 and 10. These was not events that I wanted to display, but these was events and predictions that I felt like God was leading me to display to the American public. Now, to come back and be welcomed the way that I was welcomed, to the degree that it costed my youngest brother, my youngest only remaining sibling, to think that I come back and that these people were so cold-hearted, not all of them, but a great deal of them, was so cold-hearted that they was willing to do what they was doing openly and being entertained by it. I find it to be appalling, especially knowing that my great-grandfather, Jeff Jackson, come into this area and hewn this stuff out by hand. Right over there in that area, right there, is a pond over there that half the neighborhood used to swim in and ice skate on. That pond's still there. That pond's still over there. And it works as a back shield, like a levee, to keep water erosion happening. It's a good thing that my great-grandfather and my grandfather was smart enough to put that in there, because if not, probably all this would have already been deteriorated to the point that it wouldn't have been recognizable. But they come in here and they hewn this out with hand saws and hatchets, because this used to be all forest. Every bit of it, even down on Beach Ridge, used to be all forest. Nothing but trees. But they come down here and they tame the land. And to think that I come back in 2014 and got a reception the way that I did, not only from various people in the community, but basically from the judicial system in this county, is an insult to my intelligence. That house right up there, my dad's sister had her son in that house, Jerry Wayne Madison, that's now in Plano, Texas, that made a big hit in the real estate business. That same house that's still standing to this day, Ruth Helen lived in whenever she was just a teenager or in her 20s, that had Jerry. So whenever I get to looking at the land, whenever I get to looking at the stuff that has occurred, that maybe shouldn't have occurred, and eventually I'll tear that trailer right there down that my brother died in. I'll tear it down. I'll take probably the air conditioner off of it, and I'll take probably the wiring out of it, and then maybe the heater or whatever else that may be salvageable, and I'll set it to the side and I'll use it. You know, poor people has poor ways. And though to some people it may be distasteful, to some people it may look like Fred Sanford and Son pertaining to a junkyard out here, but this is my junkyard. This is my palace. I mean, we originally, my brother and I put these beams up right here that was going to pour about 4 inches of concrete on top to use for a back patio and going into that doorway right there. And I guarantee you, on the concrete that I set out here after my brother died, I put the year and date whenever I done that, documenting our lives, documenting our work. I realize that I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. But we're supposed to learn from our mistakes and quit making our mistakes, especially whenever it comes to the depletion of this great nation, the way that we have recently seen, just as of yesterday, pertaining to our president budding up with one of our adversaries, one of our enemies, not an adversary, excuse me, our enemy. Why would Donald J. Trump saddle up with the Saudis, knowing good and well that they have blood on their hands? Our blood. It's one thing to attack the Yemens. It's one thing to be disruptful whenever it comes to humanitarian rights pertaining to the way that they have dealt with people over in their land. It's one thing towards them executing and crucifying and killing Christians for standing up for the gospel. But to think that our president would do something like this, I find it to be offensive. I find it to be morally, ethnically, legally, spiritually, emotionally offensive. And what did I witness yesterday, especially to the degree that they're stabbing Israel in the backs, and now they're twisting the knives in their backs towards completing the deal and selling them state-of-the-art equipment pertaining to jets, knowing good and well that eventually they'll turn on Israel. Now, they'll promise today that they'll go along with the Arab Accords, but I guarantee you their promises mean nothing. They're scheming and they're plotting each and every day towards what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and when they're going to do it, and who they're going to do it to. Now, I'm putting out this video in response towards what I just got through seeing on TV. But you can take it for what it's worth, that if we continue making these horrible, horrible mistakes, and like I said, I've made mistakes myself, but if we continue making these horrible, horrible mistakes, eventually, America will no longer be America. And my friends, whenever that occurs, don't come to 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. Don't come to the Purple Heart Veterans Dragon Memorial site and blame me for the mistakes that various politicians, prior politicians, have made, as well as the politicians in power right now. Don't come and blame me for their mistakes. Don't come and blame me for the fact that you didn't have enough sense to stick together, to maintain peace and order, to the degree of seeing all these mass shootings and horrible, horrible things happening to us. Don't come to my palace and blame me for that in which what you either did or did not do that you should have done. Please, you are basically violating my intelligence by thinking that you can come down here and do these things to us and get away with it, because you're not. You're not going to get away with it. And one day, whenever it's all said and done with, whenever we all sit around that big table and have the discussions that we need to have in front of the Heavenly Father pertaining to the Great White Throne Judgment, you will see who was right and who was wrong. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to keep digging in. I'm going to continue to keep working. My fingers are sore. My hands are sore. My back is sore. My body's sore from overworking myself. But you know what? For the past 2 nights, I've slept like a baby. And that could be one of the reasons why so many people have sleeping problems, is because they don't put out the work in working themselves to the degree that at the end of the day, they go to sleep and they sleep like a baby. People have been deceived. People have been misled. People have been bamboozled. It's time for the American people, especially the true born-again Christian American people, to stand up and give an account for their actions, and give an account for other people's actions and what that they've done or what that they're not doing that they should have done. I'm going to end the video by saying I love you. I'm sorry that I have to be the bad news bearer a lot of times in making my videos. I'm sorry that a lot of times I have to, I guess the right word would be chastise society because of what that they have either done or what that they didn't do that they should have done over here in America. But I'm not going to reward people for bad behavior. Neither nor am I going to not reward people for good behavior, just like Clyde Staggs or Miss Sherry over in Kenton, Tennessee, that after she found out about my son's dying, she brought me a plate of lunch over here. Or my 2 cousins, one of them was Dwayne Davis, the other one was Jim Jackson. that acknowledged the fact that I needed some sort of empathy or sympathy. I just thank God that I'm still living, that I can talk and I can still testify to my testimony, in that in which what either is happening or isn't happening that should not be happening here in America. Thanks again. God bless America. God bless our troops. God bless our American troops, and God bless our endeavors towards which way we continue to go from this moment on in our endeavors. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, with the holidays coming up, pretending Thanksgiving in the year 2025, and just to say that those that have remembered me in their prayers, those that did take time to come over and talk to me, and those that was concerned enough to maybe make a telephone call or come by here and stop, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done, because every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Pertaining to the guard jack. Because our government is supposed to rule just the shepherding of a shepherd ruling his flock. And whenever our government no longer protects its own flock, but seeks interest elsewhere, you have to start questioning what is really going on. Thanks again, and shalom. God bless.